Good evening. It's Sunday night at 7 o'clock. WOSFL Weekly. Welcome along. I'm your host, Jonny Baillie. Delighted to be back second week after Christmas and delighted to be joined by the West of Scotland's very own Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, stepping in for Dean Keenan at the last minute. Co-winning manager Kevin Kelly. Kevin, how are you, mate?
I'm good, Johnny. Thanks. I'm good. How's yourself? All right?
Aye, good. Thanks for stepping up to the plate last minute.
Glad to be on. Always happy to help Dean out. So no, absolutely.
I'm sure he'll remember that as well. As you know, Auchinleck game is currently going on. So thanks for watching. If you are watching and you're not watching that, we will keep you updated on the score. I've got it in the background. Still 1-0 to Celtic. Have you been watching it, Kev?
Aye, I've watched it. I thought Auchinleck have been excellent defensively. I think they've been really sound. Obviously a wee bit unlucky with a goal, but listen, I didn't expect anything less for Auchinleck. You know, that's why they are where they are, because they deserve it through their performances, and they've showed that again today against a top side.
I know. It's funny that there's a wee bit of an argument going on in the group chat. One of the boys is kind of having a wee go at Auchinleck for not really coming out and try to make a game of it, if that makes sense. But
Aye.
I think you do what you're doing, really. To be honest, I'm more in the camp that you try and see what you can get, and then maybe if you want to make a wee push, you go for it last 10-15 minutes or something.
I'd agree with you, and you've got to try and stay in the game as long as possible against a side like that, and take your chances when you get them. You know, they got a great chance no long after the break, and long before the break, with Connor Boyd getting into the back post for a set piece. You know, but you've just got to try and stay in the game, and hopefully, like you say, with 10 minutes to go, you can then either have a go at it or continue doing what you're doing, and hopefully you take it to penalties. Or it becomes a lottery.
I can't believe. I genuinely can't believe it's still one. It's still only 1-0 after 76 minutes. It's incredible. It's incredible performance from them defensively. But right, if you're watching us, we will keep you updated. But like I said, if you want to talk about your own club, if you get any questions or comments for Kevin, then please get in touch. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button and subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. If you're listening in audio form, download the episode, rate and review in your podcast networks. Our sponsors are Roxburgh Insurance Brokers for any insurance needs, GLA Chauffeurs for your executive travel, and of course, Gary at VSN Sport will sort your club out with some bespoke kit. And you might also get the pleasure of Gary's company, because I know he likes going down to the games and handing out the man of the match champagne as well. He's a top man. You've got VSN kit, don't you, Kev?
Aye, he was at our game against St Cadoc's earlier in the year, so we've had the privilege of Gary's company. Aye.
He always likes to get in and give his man of the match awards. Right, we'll get stuck into the league action first, Kev. We'll just kind of run through the results. Obviously, it has big impact on you guys and where you are kind of standing, but Troon at the top of the table, with Auchinleck obviously not playing today. Troon get an opportunity to kind of stretch the gap at the top of the table, and they've taken it. They just seem to be no going away this season, I suppose, is the best phrase you can use for them.
No, I was very impressed with them earlier in the year. We played them maybe 2 or 3 games in, and they gave us a real going over down at their place, and still probably have been the best side that we've played. You know, we've played Talbot and, you know, Johnson Borough and things, but you know, I think with the quality that Troon have got, they're a very good side. And ironically, Troon and Renfrew are both our next 2 games, so it was good for our management team to take that game in yesterday. They're a good side. They're a very good side.
Yeah, tell us about the game then, if you were there, Kevin.
No, personally, it was John McGowan that went to the game yesterday. I went to a different game. Just been back from holiday, so John went to the game yesterday, and he's put up a fair report on both sides, and said it was a really good game as well. So we've had them looked at, and like I say, it's always good to take those types of games in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as I said, they lost a couple of games. They're probably, I know we were just speaking off air before we come on there about the break, but they had a couple of disappointing results just before the winter break. The break probably came at a good time for them, because they've came back. They drew with Beith in the cup last week and threw in Pens, and now they've beaten Renfrew. So the breaks probably came at the right time for them.
Sometimes that's what it takes for clubs, isn't it? Just a wee bit of respite where you can reload and go again, and they look as if they've come out of traps as they mean to go, and I'm sure that kick on again, they'll be a very hard force to beat. They've got real firepower at the top, and real good players throughout the squad. So I think they'll definitely be one to watch for the season going forward.
Aye, and with a couple of Auchinleck fans who'll probably they'll be at the game now, but they were kind of saying with Troon no going through in cups. I know they're still in the West, I think, when they beat Beath, but in the games that Auchinleck have got to catch up on, it maybe favours Troon in the run out. Do you buy into that, or do you think that's Auchinleck fans trying to play a bit of possum?
No, I don't. I definitely buy into that. I think points on the board are definitely better than anything that you've got to try and catch up on, or end up at the end of the season playing Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and things like that, because that can certainly catch up very, very. It takes one or two injuries, and that becomes on top of you, So no, I think points on the board, and Troon will be more than happy with that win yesterday. Ran through a good side. We played them on Saturday. But to get more points on the board come January and kick on, they'll be happy with that.
Aye, and Troon travel to Shots next week, which you would probably look at and say you would fancy a Troon win, but Shots a really good result yesterday, beating Hurlford 1-0. That's them now. They go level with yourselves on points, and they just seem to the job that John McKean's done with very limited budget and going really under the radar. He's done an incredible job to think where they are now in the table.
I think it's a credit to Shots being able to keep Big John, because knowing him as I do, you know, I would have expected them to get a pop at a big job, and no disrespect to Shots as a club, but like you say, he's on a kind of shoestring budget there, and doing a very very good job under the radar. So no, I think it's credit to Shots, and again it's a credit to him and his management staff and his players. That result came yesterday in a 90th minute winner. I think it was Ali Small that scored late on. So it shows that resilience to go and grind out a result when most people would probably left the ground thinking, oh well, this is going to peter out or not each.
Yeah, and I know you're saying there about you know John pretty well. I don't know him. I know him to say hello to, but he's been at Cumnock in the past, and maybe he's just found a situation that just works for him. Do you know what I mean? That he just enjoys, and he's got I would imagine he's got a really good relationship with the guys up there. Maybe it's just a good situation that he doesn't want to move away from.
Sometimes you find that club that everything just fits, like you say, Johnny, and maybe that is the case. Maybe it's work scenario. I don't know, but I'm certainly an admirer of the job that he's done there, right?
Yep. All right. A classic West of Scotland Football League game at St Cadoc's, five each. It's just incredible. It's what it's all about, Kevin, isn't it? It's what it's all about. No for managers, but for us punters.
No, I mean, one or two of them would give me more grey hairs in a season, so I don't need that. I certainly don't need that, and I think it might give the players more than a grey hair. So no, five each. I think I'd certainly be pulling my hair out, maybe going a bit like yourself, Johnny.
I know, but it's good for us. It's good for us, isn't it? And but like you said, it's probably no good for the management team. We'll just get the table up here to get a look at. But on Atherley, like again, they come up with you guys last year. I know you beat them just before Christmas, didn't you? 2-0. But sitting sixth in the table, it's been a really strong start for Willie Dyer's team.
A great start, especially with Willie getting in there at the start of the season, a new club and everything else, and leaving Drumchapel, and left a good club behind to go to another very strong club in Atherley, and they've got some very good players, and he's added to that as well with a wee bit of experience and a bit of youth. So no, fair play to Atherley, and they'll be hoping that they can continue that and keep in that top eight.
Aye, I mean, do you think there's a different approach from the newly promoted sides this year, yourselves included, because the no relegation, if you like. So when you come up, your first thought is obviously to try and stay in the league that you're going into, but you don't have that stress, if you like, this year, so you can just come up and play and enjoy it and see how you get on.
I, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that in the sense, Johnny, in the sense that you have a kind of freedom as such, but because I think your pride kind of takes over. You don't want to be anywhere near the bottom if you can. And that's just that kind of winning mentality that's within you. So I don't know about the freedom, but it certainly has given people an extra edge because of the enticement of maybe going to the loan league next year. So everybody's fighting for that same thing. Rather than fighting for one spot, you're fighting for eight, and everybody's going for the same players. You know, whether you've got the same money or less money, it doesn't really matter. You're all going for it, and I think it's added. I would say it's added more of a competitiveness to the league this year. I really would, because of the size of the area that you want to be in. You know, it's no one place it's eight.
Mm-hmm. Aye, no, definitely, and that's absolutely fair enough. And one team that has flew up the table in the last few weeks is Cumnock, who are now sitting up in third place, and I think they've won the last six on the bounce. So they're probably a team that they didn't want the break, but it's good that they've picked up, and that's a really good result for them away at Largs yesterday.
Largs are a very good side, you know, and the thing about Cumnock is that I admire is that, you know, they don't score millions of goals, but they win games like 1-0, 2-1. You know, they've got a real resilience in defence, clearly, because they don't concede lots of goals either. And that's credit to them. So no, it's a very good result, because I like Arnie. I like the, you know, how quickly his teams play, and I've always enjoyed watching Largs, to be fair, for the last few years. But no, a good result for Cumnock going to Largs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just touching on yourselves, what's your own assessment of the season so far, sitting at ninth in the league? What's your assessment?
Um, Probably the only thing that's stopped has been in that top eight is probably consistency. We've maybe lacked a wee bit of consistency, because I think there's games that we've won where I think we've been poor, and I think there's games we've lost where I think we've been decent. You know, and that's just the cutthroat of that league. So no, I think we've had a decent enough start. Would I have liked to have been a wee bit higher? Of course I would, but again, like I say, that's just that winning mentality in me. But you know, if you were to sit us down, you know, me and our management team could say, listen, fair enough, and let's see what the second half of the season brings. You know.
Aye, I think it was the plan this season. Was that a goal that you kind of set to try and get into that top eight, to get into the Lone League West?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no denying that. You know, that was a clear target that was put to us from the club, and also a target within ourselves. You know, we agreed on that as a unit. So that's our aim. If we can do it, then great. If we don't, then, you know, we'll reassess and go again. But you know, that's what our ambition is to get into that top eight, because, you know, the way the club is built, and, you know, the ambition that is throughout the club that we have, is to go and be better, and go up the leagues, and however quickly that can be done, and you want that to be done as quickly as possible. So, you know, if we can take that step forward this year, it would be a great thing for the club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how are you enjoying it at Kilwinning?
I love it. I love it. You know, it's been great. The club have been great to us. Don't get me wrong. It's not came without its difficulties. You know, everybody knows when we went in there, the club was in a bit of a mess. But we feel that we steadied the ship, and, you know, we're on a good trajectory, and we want to continue to do that. So no, it's been great. People say to you, you know, you meet people in the street and that, and they say to you, "Oh, I couldn't be doing that without travelling and things," and you're like, it's literally 40 minutes down the road. It's not as if you're travelling to, you know, the other end of the world. But the difficulty is probably bringing players from Glasgow down the road because of the travelling. You know, because some of them do think it is the end of the earth. You know, so no, that, you know, like I say, it has its difficulties, but the club as a whole has been great, and the support that they've given, you know, myself and our management team there has been great as well, for us to go and try and build something that we want to be proud of at the club.
Aye, because I think there was. I think when I looked on social media when you were appointed, there was a few kind of raised eyebrows, I would say, probably, and but the job you've done, turning them round, and getting them obviously back into the Premier League, where a team like Kilwinning probably should be. Did you, when you first approached the job, did you have like was it a long term vision that the club had for you, or was it just come in and try and stabilise the place and get us back on a level playing field?
Tony, I don't think it's any surprise that, you know, when we went in there, the club sat us down and said, listen, we need to consolidate this year. Just please, you know, don't get relegated. And we said, listen, if that's the ambition, then, you know, we need to change that. It needs to be that, you know, we need to get as close to winning the league as possible, if not win it. And at one point we were sitting there, you know. So I think everybody around the club has clearly got a real positive attitude about the job that we've done. It did take a wee bit longer to sway some people than it did others, that we were going to do a good job at the club. But again, it's a credit to not just the hierarchy at the club, but to the players as well, because their consistency of coming into training Tuesday, Thursday, and then playing this Saturday. Hardly any of them miss a beat. And it's credit to everybody working to get us to where we are now. I think if you were to probably speak to the club, they'd say we're maybe 2 years ahead of where they expected us to be. So that's a bonus. But now that we're there, we need to try and go and kick on and make it even better for everyone.
Aye, no, it's great. And Renfrew next week. You obviously played Renfrew, came up against Renfrew last year. One thing I would say is I definitely think the promoted clubs to the Premier League, they've definitely brought something to the Premier League this year, which I think is great. I think it's been fantastic how competitive they've been and the football they've been playing and stuff like that. But Renfrew next week for your first game since 20th of December. It's been a long time without kicking a ball.
Aye, it's been tough. It's been tough. We're trying to get friendlies, and we're lucky enough at our club, Johnny, that we've got an astro right beside the pitch that we have access to, and that's all well and good. But again, even the elements in Kilwinning, i.e. the frost and all that, they can still put your training off, which we've experienced already. So no, everybody's looking forward to getting a game on Saturday again and getting back to competitive action. And like I say, a credit to the players, because not one of them missed a beat over the festive period. We had 3 training sessions between the 27th, 30th, and then we trained on Friday morning, the 2nd of January, and every one of them was there. So it's a credit to them, and it just shows their enthusiasm to get playing, and they're all excited for Saturday, definitely.
Aye. I think we should have been playing in the 27th and the 3rd. I don't know, what do you think?
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I think if you're a football association trying to align everything, and you're saying, well, this is a pyramid system and blah blah blah, then everybody should be in the same alignment with games. I understand though that that might not be able to happen due to certain circumstances, in the sense that clubs getting into grounds and ground sharing and all those sorts of things. But I certainly think that it should be certainly tried its hardest to align everything and play in the 27th and the 30th. I do agree with you.
Aye, I mean, even especially in the Premier League, probably maybe you could make an argument for the lower levels, like especially places like maybe Campbelltown and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I think in the Premier League, I mean, boys are getting paid good money to play semi-professional football, and the fixtures. I mean, I think Johnston Borough have got 21 league fixtures, and they're still in cups to fit in by between now and whenever it is. So, giving up 2-3 weekends, it's probably not the best idea. But I'm no doubt it wasn't. Somebody will have made that decision, and maybe we can look at changing it.
I hope they do. I really hope they do. My missus will not be too happy with me saying that, and I don't know if my players will be, but no, I hope they do, because I think everybody should be in alignment if people want to progress.
And Kenny's just messaged there, Kenny Young, the fixture secretary. So watch what you're saying, Kevin, because he's watching. But he's just saying that nobody replied when he asked if anybody wanted a game on the 27th or the 3rd. And Kenny, I completely feel sympathise with you, but I think we should make them personally. But that's just my view.
Sorry, I don't think it's Kenny's fault. That's my point. I think as a whole, if the FA are saying, listen, you're part of your pyramid system, then they should be saying, well, everybody plays in these dates. I think that's the case. I don't think, and I feel sorry for Kenny in that sense. Putting it out to tender almost. Who fancies it and who doesn't. If everybody knows the rules, listen, we're going to play 27th, we're going to play a 3rd, then everybody's equipped for it. But clubs will now, because that's not happened, clubs might have players away on holiday, they might be away with their families over the festive period, and they maybe treat it a wee bit differently. So no, I do feel for Kenny in that sense, because I think it should be taken out of his hands, and effectively, we as a league should be told, listen, if you're part of the pyramid, here's what happens.
Aye. Kenny just mentioned earlier about the training facilities for clubs, which I completely understand, but I think there's ways round about that. You know what I mean? In my opinion, there's, we've been the same, obviously, when I was down at Maybole and stuff, and
Yep.
you're having to go to maybe like 5-a-side part like leagues and like the shoot Super Soccer and all that kind of thing, the Power League, that's what it's called. We see Auchinleck down the beach on Saturday,
Exactly.
you know what I mean, and things like that, you know. So I think if teams know that they're having to do it, then they can make provision for it. So no, I'm with you, Kenny. I think it should come from above that we are not giving up 2 weeks, potentially 2 weeks of
100%.
fixtures, because it's making your job a lot harder, mate, trying to fit them all in between now and the end of the season. Definitely. Okay, mate. Into the first division, Cracker at the top of the table, having medal 3, Kilburney 3. I fancied medal to win. Kilburney came back, I think it was 3-1 or 3-2, and Kilburney came back and snatched a draw. It's a good point for Kilburney. For medal at the top of the table, I suppose it's just important they don't drop any points, because as long as they don't drop any points, I can't really see anybody catching them.
Aye, I think that's the thing that both clubs are at two different ends of the spectrum at the moment. You know, Kilburney are in a bit of a transition still with Colin getting in there. I know that he's struggled with injuries and players and things like that, so it's been tough for him. Whereas Jamie's just looking to continue consistency and, like you say, just drop as less points as possible, and hopefully others round about him continue to drop points, and he can open up a wee bit of a gap at the top there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. And the natural Novo resurgence at Darvel really seems to have kicked into gear. It's stopped for Christmas, but is picked up right where it left off. Another good 4-2 win away to Thornywood, coming off the back of wins against Ardrossan, Neilston, Peters Hill. You know, it's Nacho's making the management look easy.
Aye. Well, I think everybody gets that what do they call it, new manager bounce or whatever. You know, I think most clubs get that when somebody new comes in, and it's fair play to him and Gary for being able to drag the players up to get to that, because I know that a lot of people from who I'd spoke to had said that things were getting a bit tough and dark, and they've certainly brought a lot of light to the club, and going to Thornywood at any time, never mind going in January, is tough. So no, it's a credit to them, because I know the side that I've put together there at Thornywood, and I know a lot of the players. So they wouldn't have enjoyed that yesterday either. So no, fair play to Darvel and fair play to the management team for bringing a wee bit of light back to the club.
Aye, I think it's just going to Thornywood as well. I think is really impressive. But going there and winning 4-2, I think is a really impressive result. As is at the bottom end of the table, Lanark beating Cumbernauld. Cumbernauld have been a real good run of form, beating Kilburney 6-2, beat Whitlets 4-2 last week, and Lanark, I don't think anybody would have backed Lanark to beat them, but great result for Lanark, and they have shown that they're capable. I know again it's a big transitional year for them, but they've shown that they can pick up the odd result here and there, and that's a really good one.
It's a great result, and I've been out to Lanark a couple of times, and I must admit, it's not my favourite ground, because I think I've only won 1 out of 4 out there. So no, fair play to them, because again, Cumbernauld done a good run, like you say. They've picked up some points, scored a and for Lanark to turn them over yesterday is a credit to the players and the staff there. So fair play to them.
Aye, no, it really is. It definitely is. Villa Clyde beating Ardrossan 4-3. I see that John was in holiday again. He's made holidays than MD I know, to be fair. But
God, by the way, I've never met a guy who manages a football club that's had more holidays than him. But listen, I'm allowed to say that. I've known John since I was 3, so I'm allowed to say that. But I know the work that he puts in there, and I know how hard he works to get that club going. So I hope they can continue their good run, because they're a good club, and I know the management team, they're great there.
I know. I would really like to see them get one of those top 8 spots. I've had John on the show a few times, and I speak to him fairly regularly. Every time he sends me a picture of his pint of lager from beside the pool. Normally, but I enjoy talking to him. He's really knowledgeable, knows his stuff, and his teams are going really well. And then the final result was Benburb beating Peters Hill. PG's got a bit of a beanie's bonnet, but Peters Hill been really disappointing this year. I don't really know too much about them, but I would have expected them to be challenging for the top 8, but good result for Benburb, all the same.
Jonny, I was at that game yesterday. I went
to that game. The one you were at?
I went to that game yesterday, and Benburb went down to 10 men after 27 minutes or something like that, which is never a sending off, by the way, in a month of Sundays, right? It's a terrible sending off. But going away for that, Petershill went up 1-0. Yeah, I think did they go 2-0 up, then 2-0, then 2-1, 2 each, 3-2 to Benburb, and then right away Petershill scored again to make it 3-3 each, and then Benburb scored to make it 4-3. But it's no more than Benburb deserved, because I thought they were excellent. I thought they were very, very, very good. You'd if you know I don't want to be doing it Petershill any disrespect here, but you'd have thought Petershill were a team at times with 10 men, because Benburb had a real energy about what they were trying to do, and you can see what Budgie and Gordon have got them doing there. And no, I think they were excellent, and it's no more than or no less than they deserved yesterday. It's a thoroughly deserved 3 points for them, because I thought they were excellent, especially when it went down to 10 men.
How much of it was, and you might know why to answer this because managers never usually do they answer these kind of questions, but how much of it was Benburb were good and Petershill were poor?
Probably 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 50-50. I thought Petershill looked as if they kind of went into a wee kind of comfort zone when they went 2-0 up, and then Benburb got a penalty and scored with a free kick, and they were listen, they're two great goals, but even at that, I just thought Petershill looked as if they were still going to go and win the game. The players looked as if, it's all right, we're going to go and win. And sometimes that's not enough, and I thought that showed yesterday. So probably a wee bit of 50-50 in that. I thought a wee bit.
Aye, and it's going to be really interesting. I think every medal win the league, looking at the table, I don't see anybody catching them, and then I think it's really, there's a lot of teams vying for those top 8 spots, and the thing is, you've got teams like Benburb that have obviously changed their management team that are on the up, and then you've got obviously teams like Muircup, Vale Clyde, Kilwinning will be looking to improve. Neilston have had a good start to the season. It's going to be interesting to see who sneaks into those top 8 spots.
It's going to be really interesting, because it's funny. Like, obviously, you asked me about the Petershill, and Benburb scenario yesterday, and it's where I probably feel sorry for managers and football clubs, is because you can actually only control the players for 30 minutes before the game and 15 minutes during it. You can't really control what's going on when they go over the white line. So for managers to find that consistency, I take my hat off to clubs that can go and do that, like Neilston and stuff, when they've come up. So no, it's going to be really tough. I think Irvine Meadow will get there, no problem. I do think that St Roch will give them a real challenge, and then it's going to be a dogfight for the other kind of 6 spots, really. Vale Clyde. I hope Vale Clyde get in there, not just because of my affiliation with John, but he's done some great jobs at clubs, and I don't, again, a bit like John McEwen. It's probably goes under the radar a bit because he's at so-called smaller clubs. So no, it's going to be a real tough one to see who gets in that top 8.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just before we move on to the second division, the Celtic Auchinleck games finished 2-0 to Celtic. Tunetke scored in the 87th minute, but heads held high with that one, Kevin. I know you don't want to lose. Nobody wants to lose games of football, especially Tommy Sloan, but you've got to hold your heads high after that.
100%. He'll be very, very proud of his players there, and I certainly would be with the performance up to 60 odd minutes there, 70 minutes. Because they were resolute. They put the ball into the right areas. They defended well, and see when you're done with bits of quality, and you think there's no much you can do. But see when you're done with a deflection that goes into the player's path, there's even less you can do. You know what I mean? It's just wee bits of luck, but. No, the players and the management at Auchinleck will definitely be proud of each other, I would assume, because I certainly would be, and I know the fans will be.
Aye, I know, because you can see, you just need to look last week at the FA Cup, Man City turning the Exeter over 10-1 and
Exactly.
stuff like that. It can happen, it can get away from you pretty quickly. But they showed that character, especially when you play Celtic and Rangers. When you lose that first goal, that's always the test. The next 10-15 minutes is what can you do? And they got to half time at 1-0, which I think was really important. And in second half, they were much the same. But commiserations to them going out the cup. It's been a great run, beating Dumbarton. But congratulations on the result and the run, and we'll see if they can get back to normal business next week against Thornleywood in the West. So that'll be right back down to earth, home to Thornleywood next weekend.
Aye, back to earth with a bang, especially when you're going into another cup game, not even going to a league game, trying to get another wee run together. But no, and the thing that I noticed about the Auckland players, which was great, was they looked disappointed to be 1-0 down at half time. It wasn't as if the players were going to have to part saying, "Oh, right, okay, let's go, we'll go again, it'll be all right." You could see there was real resentment and disappointment at getting 1-0 down. So it shows you the character of that dressing room, and fair play to them. But like you say, back with a bang next week against Donovan.
Aye, and it's interesting you mentioned that about getting into a cup game. I was just looking at it there. So Troon go to shots. If Troon win that game, that puts Troon 8 points in front. Now, I know they'll have Auchinleck will at that time have 4 games in hand over them, which is obviously a lot. But 8 points is a big gap. Even with games in hand, 8 points is still a big gap.
I think in my young experience, shall we say, or little management experience, but certainly a lot of experience at this level is that you can just never write a fucking leg. You know what I
I
mean?
know,
They,
no, I
they,
know, I
they've,
know.
they've, they've, they've overturned incredible deficits. But in saying that, what I had said to you earlier is it's always better to have these points on the board, because you go 1 or 2 injuries, things start to look a wee bit, shaky, and then what do you do for there? But I don't think Toon will become complacent at any point. They'll just look to rack up the points, and then they'll just have to wait and see what Auchinleck bring to the table against them.
Aye, definitely. I mean, I would still have Auchinleck as favourites for the league, definitely. But Troon have just got to keep doing what they can do. Okay, into the second division, Bellshill with their new management team get a good 5-0 win away to fourth. Probably a game that you would expect them to win, but I think for the new manager, it's just about getting a getting that winning feeling back into the place and getting a good mood around the place.
100%. It's a bit like what we were saying about Darvel. You've got to try and find that extra bit to put your own emphasis on the team, and hopefully the players can then, when they go on the park, pull that through and put out what you've taught them Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, whatever that may be. And Bellshill seem to have done that, and fair play to the new management team there, because again they've scored a great goals which they had done previously. So it looks like they're just going to continue in that steam train, because they've got good players there. They've got very good players, and personally, I think, no disrespect to Beltal, but I think they've got players there that should be playing at in the higher league.
No, I agree with you, and I think it was important for them with Thrieve not playing as well. This was Bellshill's game in hand, if you like, so that now puts them.
Yeah.
If we just got to look at the table, so that puts them 2 points behind Bellshill. Thrieve, sorry, after losing the game down at Meadow Park, down at Thrieve. It's important that they got that 3 points under their belt to keep themselves right on Threeve's coattails.
Aye, I think that's the thing, especially when you're in a bit of a dogfight like that. It's about who's going to blink first, and Bellshill take a lot of confidence for that yesterday, scoring that amount of goals, especially away from home, and not the best place to go. So no, they'll take a lot of confidence, and they'll hope that Threave are the ones to blink first rather than themselves.
Aye, and Bellshill play Ashfield next week, I think. So they would probably fancy themselves to get 3 points from that. And Thrieve play Maryhill, who are going well, and played out another West of Scotland classic with a 4-all draw at Maryhill. another good one for the neutrals.
Aye, another game for the neutrals. Aye, 8-goal thriller. Again, it's not something that you, as a manager, that you want to be seeing. Scoring 4 goals fine, but conceding 4 goals not so fine. But I know that there's a lot of debate around whether that game was going to go ahead because of the surface and the rain and the weather and things like that. So you've got all these factors that go into that. But I'm sure both managers be dusting themselves off and go again next week.
Aye, I mean, for me, I think the Maryhill have been really strong all season, and I know they have dropped points a couple of times, but again, it's a testament to the job that Mark Young's done at Maryhill that I can't see them finishing outside the top 8. Definitely not.
No, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. He's got some great players there. He's done a great job there. We actually played him pre-season, and I know it's pre-season and people say you can't really look into it and stuff, but you could see what he was trying to do. You know, you could see the style that he was trying to implement, the way that he, you know, with these forward players moving, the way that he had his centre backs taking the ball and things. And you know, everybody says, "Ah, it's easy to do that in the early days. What's it like in January?" But you know, he's clearly found a method of winning. He's also found a way of keeping some of his players because I like some of his players. You know, myself, I know a couple of them. But no, I hope they do manage to get, you know, continue that and get into that top eight because it'd be a credit to him out the job that he's done there.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that when his team don't keep a clean sheet, he makes them run on a Monday night. So it'll definitely be trainers on the morrow for the boys at
Aye,
Maryhill.
big game of running.
Aye, I know, horrible shout. Just bring your trainers, lads. Bonneton move up to third, although they've played many more games than the kind of teams run about them. But you would probably expect them to beat Kilsyth Athletic, but you've still got to go there and do it. And again, Bonneton's a team with a squad that they've assembled. I would expect top eight would be a kind of minimum expectation for them.
Oh,
So sitting third now
100%.
after 17 games, they're probably reasonably happy with where they're at.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, I would probably have, you know, again, no disrespect to Forsyth, but I would have expected Bonington to beat them. We actually have a player out on loan to them at the moment, Adam Caldwell, who got a horrible injury last year.
Yeah, no, Adam,
Against
right back, Tuesday
yeah,
Girvan.
he got a terrible injury last year against Thornwood.
Oh, really?
When it put him out for a year, he had a broken shin bone in two places, done his knee. You know, it's a real career ender for some, and the work that, and it's a credit to the club as well. But the work that Adam put in and to get back to even playing, never mind, you know, playing at a right good level, has been excellent. So you know, we just hope that he goes there, manages to find a wee bit of form, and comes back to us, fitter, stronger, and we go again next year. You know, so no, I would expect Bonington to be in that top eight, and like you say, that should be minimum expectation from them.
Aye, it'll be good. It'll be good. Good place for him to get game time as well because there's a good set up there
That's
and
a
good
great club.
coaching staff and stuff like that. And it's sad you said, shame you said that, but Adam, because I did wonder. It was weird because I saw obviously I helped George out a wee bit in Maybole and stuff like that, and I saw the post to say that he was available for loan, and I kind of went through my head like, where's he been? Do you know that way? Because it seems like we've
Yeah.
no, I hadn't seen him mentioned or talked about or spoken about
Johnny,
for
it was
ages.
an
But
absolute shocker. I mean, like one of the worst tackles that I've seen. And listen, I don't think that it's, you know, an intention to hurt, but you know, the injury that came from it was just horrible, and really would have, you know, ended people's careers because he needed surgery. And he's been out for a year, never kicked a ball for a year, and he's been back training fully now for probably 8 or 9 weeks, maybe a wee bit longer, you know, fully training. So it's a credit to him. And we just hope that, you know, we can go and find, you know, consistency of games over the next 4 months to kick him on for us next year.
aye, good luck to him. Good luck to him. Okay, into the third division. We're not even going to talk about Girvan, seeing as Dino patched me the day. I'm only winding them up. I think the result of the day for me was probably Port Glasgow beating Dalry 3-2. Port Glasgow had a good result last week against Fanat. But I know we spoke about you guys not playing since the 20th of December. That's Dalry's first game since the 5th of December.
Aye, you know, that's really tough for anybody. I don't care whether you're Barcelona or whether right. You know, the fact is, see if you've not been able to play a competitive fixture for 4 or 5 weeks, it takes its toll on you. And I think I was impressed with Dora. We played them in a friendly, maybe September, October. And I was impressed when I thought had some decent players. So yeah, a very impressive result yesterday there. Aye.
Aye, I just so I'm the same as you. I think Dorai. What I've been impressed with is, and I've spoken to Chris Wilson, the Dorai manager, about this. Is they've improved every year under Chris. You know, like the first year we were in the third division and uh, we were we were fighting when I was at Lugar. We were fighting for the relegation that year when 6 went down, and then they improved again, and then they've improved again. And I think this is for me, in my eyes, this is the year that they really kind of go for it, that kind of thing. So I know he'll be disappointed to lose that game yesterday, but as we said, after being off for such a long period of time, it's maybe just a case. I know they've had bounce games and stuff like that, and they've game cancelled and stuff. So it's probably just a case of getting gone again, and just
100%.
maybe writing it off and saying we'll go again.
No, definitely. That's certainly the way I'd be looking at it. Is that it's one away, but you're not going to beat yourself up about it because you've had your hands tied for the last 4 weeks. So no, they'll just dust themselves down, and they've got a real niche for bringing in players because some of the players that they had when we played them, I was very impressed. And then when I spoke to the management, I said we've got them for this, we've got them for this league and that league and this amateur league, and it's like fair play.
Mm-hmm.
I know how hard it can be, and for you to have had that element of life to continue that is great. So no, I hope they do kick on, but fair play to Port yesterday of managing to get that result.
Aye, and if you look at the table, it's such a close league. I've said it before on this show that the how tight this league is incredible. When you look at the from third down to maybe ninth, even 10th in Glasgow Uni because of the games they've got in hand. This is going to be an absolute dogfight right to the end for those 8 promotion spots.
Aye, definitely. I mean, especially when you see that Knightswood are only 5 points behind Craig Mark and played the same games, and by all accounts, I know we'll probably go into it, but by all accounts, Knightswood were excellent yesterday at Pollock. So it shows you what they can do. So no, you're right. I think that'll be a real tough slog for everybody down there to see who wins that. But even just to get into that top 8, it's going to be tough.
Aye, and obviously Glasgow United under the new manager David Templeton. I don't know, is he still playing? Do you know if he's still going to play or is he just going to concentrate on
I'm
coaching? Do you know?
unsure. I'm unsure. I know that he's got big Kevin Nichol in there with him, and I think Kevin stopped playing by all accounts. I think. So I don't know whether maybe one of them's playing and one of them's not, but they've got Welsh and millions of experience and contacts. That I'm sure will hopefully help them through that and consolidate their place there.
Aye, because I don't know if you've ever done it, Kevin, but I think it's an impossible job trying to be a player manager.
No, I've never done it. I've never done it. I finished playing at 27. Went into St Ops. My dad took over at St Ops and then just stayed in coaching and then went on to management when he passed away. So no, I've never done it, but I don't think it's something that I would advocate for either because I think it's hard to differentiate being a player and a manager, especially when you're telling players on the park and they're having a chuck back at you while you're on the pitch as well. And I think that can be difficult. I take my hat off to anybody that can do it. I look at Rhys McCabe at Airdrie doing it for so long. But again, it's just about finding that balance, and it's certainly not something that I would like to have done. No.
No, I think it's as well, like, I don't know what you were like, but when I was playing, I was very insular and focusing on my job and what I needed to do. And I think and then you come into the dressing room and the players are expecting you to give them something that they
Yep.
need to do, like, and you're not really familiar with what the overall picture is. You know what I mean? And I think as well when you're talking to your assistant, like when I was manager at Troon, Dino was my assistant, but he was still playing, and even that was difficult because
Yeah.
Dino was the same. Do you know what I mean? He didn't really maybe have the focus on what was going on in the whole game, and you know what it's like. Sometimes when you're playing, you can get emotional about stuff because that's just your nature, and you're trying to keep that under wraps. And plus, as well, David Templeton has still got so I don't know how he is fitness wise or health wise, but he's still got so much to offer as a player. It would be a shame for Glasgow United to lose that on the park.
Definitely. I mean, his technical ability is a joke. Like some of the things that he can do without actually moving the ball is a joke. I've seen him go by players without moving the ball. I mean, edible. But again, that was David played it. I remember playing against him when he was at Stenhouse Muir. I was only a kid, and you knew that he was destined to go and have a very, very, very good career. And now he's went into management, and if I can strike up a relationship with him, well, I can get some knowledge from him about the game and stuff like that, then it's something that we'll look to do. But no, I think that if he can still play, then he certainly should.
Aye, no, definitely, and good luck to him because it's no an easy gig, this management luck, as I know, and that's why I've got no interest in ever doing it again. Into the fourth division, again, result of the day, a good West of Scotland result in terms of scoreline, but I'm going to say a shocker in terms of the actual result was EKYM going to Irvine Vicks and turning them over 6-1.
When I say I'm not shocked because I know how well East Kilbride can be. I know how well they can play, and I've seen them a couple of times actually. And they're a very good side. They've got some very, very, very good players in there actually. And players that have maybe found a comfort playing there because it's local, or they don't have to travel too far. They got on with the manager and things. But um, what I'm surprised at is the amount of goals that Irvine Vicks conceded, because you've seen the run that they were on. They hadn't been conceding a lot of goals. Ben's done a great job there, I think, with such young players. He's brought a lot of young players there, and they were at a kind of consistent level of form. Maybe a wee bit up and down, but nothing too drastic. So I'm surprised at the amount of goals, but I'm not overall surprised at the result, because I know both teams are very good sides, and on their day, I'm sure Irvine Vicks could probably do that to other teams as well. So no, it's more about the scoreline rather than the actual result. I'm surprised at.
It's see for me, and we'll come on to EKYM in a minute, but it's just the amount of goals that Irvine Vicks conceding. I know I've spoken to Ben about it, and he's voiced his frustration to me around it. And I remember speaking to him before Christmas, and they thought they'd kind of turned the corner a wee bit with him defensively. But even last week when they beat Giffnock, I think they beat Giffnock, it's still 6-3, and then the week before they beat New Mains 4-3. Then they get beat 4-2 off West Park the week before that, So I don't know what they were doing when they felt they turned the corner, but they need to go back to that, because that can come back and bite you, because you can end up losing the odd game that you probably shouldn't, because you're not defending properly.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big talking points for me in the dressing room, Johnny, to our players, is that there needs to be a responsibility in defending. Everybody wants to. All players. I was guilty of it myself when I played. Everybody wanted 5 years. We'll go and celebrate together when you score a goal. And what we've found with our players this year, and it's a credit to them, is that they've took responsibility as iron defending. And I think it's a dying breed, such, because you've got young players coming through the game now, Johnny, who at the football until the age of 20. And it's a big gripe for me. So when you're fishing in a younger pond, as Ben's had to do, and bring in younger players, that can have an knock-on effect in these sets of circumstances. I mean, I've got two young players out on loan at Irvine Vicks at the moment, and Sam Truesdale and Owen McCallum, and they're both doing very, very well. But they came through our 20s, and it was competitive right through. They were playing for leagues and they were playing for cups and things. But some of the kids now coming out of academies have effectively played non-competitive friendlies for a long time. And like I say, I genuinely believe it can have a knock-on effect, because I think the art of defending is a dying breed, and especially the desire to defend is certainly going out of the game.
Aye, it's not the desire to defend is gone completely. The desire to keep a clean sheet and defend your box, but also I think as well the most important thing for me is kids nowadays, and I'm blanket statement, but I don't care. They don't sense danger.
But I think there's two ways to look at that, Johnny. Like, see when we were a wee bit older, maybe just missed it really as a generational thing. But you played in the street, you played with your boys' club, you played with whoever it was that you played with. You played competitive games. You never wanted to get beat. You never wanted to go up the road and tell your man you get beat, or your pals at school, whatever it was now. But I think now kids are getting coached and manipulated so much on the ball that they don't really get coached millions off it. Because everybody wants this technical Pep Guardiola team. who pass the ball through the lines at a million times out of a million, and I think we need to. I think we need to go back to having that desire to defend, and like you say, having that desire to have clean sheets, and that's got to be a real importance in your game as well. Because it's all right saying, "Oh, we won 14-13," but you've conceded 13 goals. What is that doing for your mentality? What sort of mentality is that instilling in you at a young age?
No, definitely. I mean, I remember having sessions when I was a young boy, and the coach would actually like they'd be playing a game, and the coach would stop the game and say to me, like, "What are you going to do if we lose the ball right now?"
Aye.
Like what's your movement? What's your thought process if we lose the ball right now? And just getting you into that mindset that something could happen. That if a defender goes to clear it just a hoof up the park, are you reacting properly? Are you reacting? Are you anticipating? All that kind of thing. So,
And
I think
I must admit, Johnny, and I don't go on the grass lots in the coaching aspect. John and Saunders do 99% of the training and stuff, and they're massive on that. Especially in both of their career paths and what they've done in the game. They put a real responsibility in training onto maintaining that you don't lose a goal. Regardless of what it is, whether it's a 2v2, whether it's a 4v4, whether it's 11, whether it's a 5v11, it doesn't matter. There's got to be a bit of responsibility. You don't concede. And we our players have certainly got that mentality, because you see them even in training and on a Saturday when they concede, they really get on each other. And I don't mind that as long as it's constructive. But I think it is as a dying breed in the game, and apologies for going on about it, but I've spoke to clubs who have got youth development or head of academies and stuff like that. They've said to me, we need to get our players out on loan so that they understand what it means to lose. Because win bonuses and all these sorts of things. Because a lot of the kids now, they really they don't see it. They don't see it. They don't feel it. It's almost that kind of emotionless unless you score a goal.
Aye, no, they don't. No, you're absolutely right, and I think we should see. I think the most important thing for a young player is to play competitive games, to play first team football if they can, like at any level where they
At any
learn
level,
that kind of
absolutely.
thing. And I think they need to do it earlier rather than later, if that makes sense. I think this waiting to the 2020. One of my bugbears, since we're on our soapboxes here, Kev, one of my bugbears is when they talk to um, they talk about players at 20, 20, 21, 22 as young players. It does my
Exactly.
boxing.
Exactly. Aye, 100%. 100%. The kind of cotton wool of, oh, he's 21, you know, a young lad. And again, I've spoken about this previously with PG and things like that. People say to me, he's only 21, he's not got a lot of experience. So I'm like, hold on a minute, he's played 60 14 games.
Yeah.
Against a lad that's maybe 24 that we've brought in who's played 13 games. That I think that experience can be put across in different ways, and I would always go for, like you're saying, how many first team appearances have you had, and what have you been exposed to?
Mhm.
Because that's where you learn. That's experience, isn't it? 13, 14 games at 24 and 25.
No, definitely not. Okay, another classic, St Peter's West Part 4. I see we got a comment from Paul Mooney in the chat just saying it was a fantastic game. End-to-end off draw was a fair result for both. I did speak to Kenny, or Kenny messaged me actually just saying about they were 3-0 down, 3-1 down at half time, 3 goals gifted to them. I've never, he put it this right. Do you know Kenny?
No, I don't.
Right. So I said I've never seen 3 goals
Oh,
gifted to a
different,
team
sorry.
like that in my life.
Oh, sorry, St. Peter's. Yes, I do. Apologies.
Aye.
Yes, I do. Sorry.
So I can only imagine what that dressing room must have been like at half time
Aye, I know.
if they've gave West Park 3 goals.
Aye, I mean, talking about conceding goals, Kenny's a guy that certainly no take to that very well. So no, you're right. He'll no take to that, and like you say, I'd have liked him in a flying wall at half time,
I know,
100%.
but he did say they came out and he was happy with the point overall. To be fair, so he probably would have been at that point, but they're sitting in 8th now, so looking to push for that top 8. I know when I've had them on the show, he said that the top 8 is kind of where they want to go, and it looks as if they're creeping into contention.
I spoke to him at pre-season. We played in a large tournament, and I spoke to him at pre-season, and he was saying, "Listen, we've got to try and see how it goes." But I know him, and I know within him that he'll be striving because he's an ambitious character and he's a dead bubbly character that a lot of people really take to. So I'm sure if anybody's going to get it out his players, then it'll be him.
Aye, definitely. And I forgot to just touch on EKYM just there. The run they're on, I think they're now 7 unbeaten, 5 wins and 2 draws. They did have a wee bit of a kind of adjustment period probably where they lost a couple of games at the start of the season, but they're found their form now and they can go top if they win their game in hand over Vale Even.
It's a credit to them. It's a real credit to them because coming into that level when you've stepped out amateur and all these sorts of things to be able to find that consistency and bring these players in and do that over a number of games into years is something that everybody as football managers, football clubs strive to do, but to do it so early and find that level is great. Like I say again, I think they've got players there that could play much higher, but I know a lot of the players have really taken to the management there, and they've really got them buying in. So it's fair play to them, and I hope they do. I hope they do kick on because I've got a personal affiliation with a few of the players there. I hope they do it for them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I don't know. Did you see the stuff about BSC?
I only seen a glimpse of it yesterday about them struggling.
Aye. So I think they've basically been told that there's I'll not read the full statement out, but there was the stuff about them. They're not able to play at their ground anymore. They've said the West of Scotland club is not sustainable, but the team has shown a desire to be self sufficient and fundraising early, and they're going to play at Springburn where Fanart play. Hopefully the league is okay with that. So it's a shame. It's a real shame for Barry. I've got to know Barry a wee bit this season. He's done really well at turning them around from where they were, and I'm going to try and get him on the show in a couple of weeks just to kind of go over it. But you never like to see a club going down that route. It's no great.
Jonny, I find it incredible how these clubs can sustain. I mean, we had first hand when we were at Cali Locals with that. When we were at WOSFL, myself, John, Saunders, Blackie, when we were there, we were due, it's film show stuff. I mean, we were due to meet with 6 players on a Saturday morning, and I was getting in to look at a new motor on my missus on a Friday afternoon. The chairman phoned me and he says, "That's us finished." And I was like, "What do you mean we're finished?" He says, the club's folding, the money's been taken away, we can't pay players, X, Y, and Z, we don't have a pitch, all this sort of stuff. And us 4 as a management team met up on a Saturday morning, and we're like, what did we do? Do we stay or do we go? Or what happens here? And so I've had first hand experience of that, and it's no nice. So I really hope that they managed to turn it around because we certainly did it at Cali Locals, and we had some great times there. And funny enough, Scott Black talks about it a lot. He's been in the game a long time, Blackie. But he says that that time where we were galvanised, everybody was playing for nothing. Players weren't getting wages. We were just turning up with what we had, strips on our back on a Saturday. And he says that probably found his love again for proper football. So I hope the guys at BSC can really turn that round because I know that I know they put a lot of hard work into that, especially when they were playing at Peterson Park. So no, I hope they can turn that round because you never want to see a club getting out of the game. Never mind a local club in Glasgow.
No, definitely. Okay, we'll just touch on some of the cup ties that took place over the weekend. You mentioned there Pollock beating Knightswood 3-2. I spoke to Michael Pender, the Knightswood manager. He was disappointed. He says that he says people are going to say we did well and give us credit and plaudits, but he doesn't really want it because they really felt that they could go and get something from the game, which I completely get. And I know he wasn't happy about the penalty award. He did send me the clip. It doesn't look like a foul inside the box, certainly, which is obviously went against them. And then I was speaking to Josh at Pollock as well, and he was just saying it was a scrappy game. Pollock were 2-0 up, and then Knights would come back into it. I think Michael felt that they would go on and win it in the end when they got back to 2 each, but they managed to get the goal in a kind of last minute to see them through. But Knightswood will be disappointed, but I think Pollock will just be pleased to get over what could have been a potential banana skin.
I think that's the thing when you go into the competitions, it's just about getting into the next round, innit? It doesn't matter how you get there. It doesn't matter whether it's a 90th minute winner or like I was saying earlier, you're going 1-5, 6-7-0 and games go away. But I credit to Knightswood because that Michael's mentality in it. He's a real winner. And, one seen as a kind of pity party or hard luck pat in the back, but it is because going to a club like Pollock, especially at Pollock, the fans are there. I know the wee goalie Omar, probably never played in front of a crowd that big. There's lots of factors to that. So to take a very good Pollock side to the 90th minute is a credit to them. But in Pollock's sense, you win the tie. It doesn't matter how you do it. You just got to get through to the next round, and they've done that. So fair play to them.
Yep, and Rob Roy beat Armadale Thistle 2-1. Good result for them getting through into the latter stage of the Scottish Cup as well. In the West of Scotland, Muirkirk beat Yoker 5-1 fairly comprehensively. In the Cup Winners' Shield, Whitlets beat Crossgates Primrose 5-3. And in the South Challenge Cup, we'll just touch on before we finish, Greenock continue their giant killing exploits of this season after beating Largs. They beat East Stirling, they beat Whitehall Welfare. Now they've knocked out Glenafton. So Gary Fleming's got the knack for the cups.
Gary's doing a great job there, Johnny. A great job. I mean, to be able to have that on your
saying about Gary, another great result for Greenock. Now, I'm suspicious of the name William Fleming. I don't know if that's a relation of Gary. If it is, that's not allowed. That's got to be a fine. But I do agree with him. It is another great result for Greenock.
It's a terrific result. You see when you've got the so-called scalps, being a lower league man. I know that Gary won't see them as a scalp because of what he's been able to achieve previously in the sense that he's still in things like that. So no, a great result for him. I know things aren't going as well as Paul would like them at Glenafton at the moment. I've seen that Max Curry's away back to Stranraer as well. I know that Max had no long went to Glenafton, so I don't know what's going on down there. But no, fair play to Gary and his team there and his players because another great result, and I'm sure they'll look forward to the draw.
Aye, no, definitely. And the final game, Tranent beat St Roch's on penalties. St Roch's will be gutted, but again, it's one of those ones where they've shown their quality to be able to push a top level in league side all the way to penalty kicks.
Absolutely, and I think my old club, certainly a soft spot for the club in sense, but when you've got that travelling support with you that St Roch's bring, it kind of become a 12th man, especially when clubs don't have that every week, and like I said to you, a wee bit like Knightswood, players don't play in front of it. So no, that I'm sure St Roch's will feel a wee bit hard done to. But again, in Tranent's favour, the penalties go in the next round, and that's all you can say,
I think St Roch's ran Tranent close recently. Did they? Did they know? Like last year or something? I don't know. Maybe I'm talking at my backside, which I'm normally do, to be fair, Kev. But I'm sure they run them close.
I'm not sure.
I know Dorai run them close as well this season. But good for those. Good for Greenock and hard lines to St Roch's. Okay, mate. Listen, rattle through that. Thanks. I really appreciate you giving up your time on Sunday evening to come on and chat. It's first I've met you as well in person, so it's good to chat, good to talk to you about Kilwinning and your views on youth football. Actually, we comment for Kenny just saying football's a game of skill, individual talent and instinct. Some of that's been coached out the young players by coaches that have done a course. I probably agree.
I was talking to somebody about that the other day, and one of them said to me, a lot of coaches are becoming out a manual rather than actually being a coach and being a person. And again, that's where I take my hat off to the work that my management team have done because they've done the hard yards and coaching and they're very, 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 very good. And I speak about them a lot. So no, I do believe and I agree with Kenny that some coaches are certainly coaching out a book. But and listen, I don't want to get into it, but you know the coaches at the top level won't adapt. So how do you expect to, if you're not going to be a role model at the top, then how do you expect that to filter through? And I suppose that's just like any level of work, that if you're not right at the top, then how's it going to work? So no, that's about as much as I'll say on that.
No, it's a good place to end, Kev. Like I said, it was good to chat to you. Thanks for stepping in at short notice and giving us an hour of your time on this Sunday evening.
No, it's been great, Johnny. Thanks a lot for having me on.
And like that.
You there?
Did somebody cut 50 pence in the meter, Kev?
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened there.
We're nearly finished.
Someday.
I get shadow banned with YouTube. Right, mate. Okay, listen. As always, 168 goals in 37 games over the weekend. Wow. 4.5 goals a game on average.
No doing enough about defending. No doing enough about defending.
I know. Listen, I don't want it. I love it. It's, I do this every week. I count up the goals and work out the average, and I don't think it's ever. I think there's only maybe been once this season it's been under average 4 goals a game.
Jeez, oh man.
It's incredible. Incredible. Always value for money. Like you say, if you're looking for something to do at the weekend, dig out a tenner, go and support your local West of Scotland Football League team. 100%. Reminder, if you are watching this on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. If you're listening in audio form, download it and rate and review in your podcast networks. Our sponsors, Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, GLA Chauffeurs and VSN Sport. Until next week, when I'll be rejoined with PG, who's swanning about with his media pass at Rugby Park as we speak. I've been Jonny Baillie. He's been Kevin Kelly. Take care of yourselves and each other. Cheers.
Cheers, Johnny.